Hey, this is Josie Ong with Affirmation Pod, your home for personal development, where I create actionable content that you can try before you hit the sack tonight. This episode is going to be the first for this month's theme, which is pivots, changes. As you remember, every month for the rest of this year, 2016, I'm going to have a theme for each month. And this month's theme is on change and the power to make changes in our life. And the first episode of the month is always a worksheet episode. And what I mean by worksheet episode is that I've created a worksheet that you can get for free. And in the worksheet episode, which will be the first week of each month, I will go through the worksheet and give my own answers so that you can see and hear, or I guess maybe just hear, how I've filled it out. And then you'll get a feel for the worksheet, and then you can download it and you can fill it out digitally. It's a PDF that's fillable, or you can print it off if you'd like, if that's easier, or you can just take the template of it and just write your answers down in a journal, or even just say them out loud, whatever you want to do. This is all for you. And my hope is that you do what will benefit you. This episode is on pivots. And for me, it's a great place to start because pivots don't sound as challenging as change. Change sounds like a lot more work and effort. And I wanted to start us off by celebrating the changes you have made in your life. So the pivots you have made. And that's what the worksheet is all about. If you want to download it now, you can go to affirmationpod.com/pivot and follow along, or you can download it after you listen to this episode. I find we can often be so hard on ourselves. So actually looking back and giving ourselves credit for the pivots we have made, whether they've been easy or hard, we've made them. And that's really cool. But the bonus is we can also get some insights, possibly, into what we can do or what can help us to make new pivots, more pivots in our life, to better ourselves. Whatever that may be. Maybe it's managing your money better so you can save money every month, or integrating exercise into your life more, or finding that spirituality that really connects and works for you for where you're at right now in this season of life. Sometimes looking at the past will give us a clue into what could create our future. So here's a few I came up with. The worksheet says, I used to, and I put, do my makeup in the car. I did. For most of university, I would do that. Not good, right? And then the worksheet says, now and I put, I do my makeup before I go out. Now the worksheet says, this pivot was inspired by, and I thought about it and I thought, okay, because I used to seriously do my makeup every day in the morning while I drive. Well, this pivot was inspired by my eventual disgust with this behavior because I started thinking of the worst case scenario, and I guess I just really started to grow up and make it a priority. Get the makeup done before you leave. Don't put yourself and other people in harm's way. I wonder now, with distracted driving around technology, if people actually thought of the worst case scenario more, or maybe felt kind of a disgust around their behavior, if we would see less of it. Okay, so the next one I put was, I used to eat whatever I like and not think much about what I eat. Now I think about nutrition, health, and the benefits of everything I eat. And when I thought about this one, I clearly remember this pivot was inspired by a close friend's dad who was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and everything changed. Their whole family started eating differently. A lot of different things happened as a result of this diagnosis. And he was a very popular person. People were giving him all these things to help him. There, one of his friends paid for the installation of a certain filter for the water that was at their house, and people were giving him herbal medicines, different teas, books to read. It was a lot of love and care that was shown to him at that time. And it really kind of got me thinking oh, yeah, what do I do? Do I eat cancer-fighting foods, or do I eat cancer-inducing foods? And he actually gave me a book that somebody had given him, which was Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. And that added to the inspiration that hey, I've got to think about what I eat more than I have been. That said, though, I also had to learn at that time that you can do what you can do. You can't control everything in life, because my friend's dad passed away about almost a year to the day of his diagnosis. And then the next year, that close friend, we know someone who was super healthy. He was an athlete. He used to make tofu smoothies. And when people went to his house, he would offer them these tofu smoothies. And he's like, hardly anyone ever takes me up on my offer for these tofu smoothies. But he later developed a brain tumor and within months had passed away. So 2 big lessons for me, I guess, is to, yes, look at what I'm eating, but also to remember that how you live your life is really important, because you don't know what's around the corner. I also put in my worksheet that I used to have social anxiety and so much fear and discomfort when I was around new people, and I'd have a lot of dread around being social. However, now I have learned to make conversation and remember that after the social event or the social time is done, I'll be back to my comforts of home. And this pivot was inspired by a job where meeting new people was almost a daily practice, and it forced me to learn to be myself while sorting out the new personalities I'm surrounded by, as well as managing the awkwardness or the discomfort inside of me. And when I look at what inspired these pivots, I was like, oh, it really was either me just kind of growing up or me facing situations or circumstances that impacted me. And I heard a quote recently, I think it's a Zen quote: when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. And for me, going through this worksheet, it may be a different experience for you. And perhaps very easily what comes up for you is so different from what came up for me. But for me, it was like, oh, I learned through life having its natural flow and circumstances, seeing things happen, having a job that forced me to face my internal fears around people and being social. Life gives us a lot of opportunities to learn. And I hope through my podcast, it gives people opportunities to learn and grow, maybe in ways that I didn't intend. And that's already happened. And so the last part of the worksheet is new pivots I want to make are. And I can name a few, but what it really comes down to for me is one nice umbrella, which is a pivot I want to make in my life is to let people be who they are. And for example, my husband may not do things exactly the way I would do them, but to just let him and embrace him as the individual he is. My mom loves my daughter and will buy and bring foods for her that I don't always agree with, but at some level, I need to let that go and not get as worked up about it as I can and have. So maybe to summarize it for myself, the pivots I want to work on are to keep communicating with those around me. However, to add more acceptance of who they are and what they want to do and what they want to bring to our lives and our family. You might be thinking, man, she sounds a bit like a control freak. Yeah, I guess. And what it comes down to, especially when it comes to the kids, is we're all passionate. We all love them so much, and we're all giving what we believe is best. And so as you can tell, this is not going to be a pivot that I can make overnight, but I'm trusting with each day and each opportunity that I can slowly make those shifts, slowly make those pivots. Okay, that's this week's episode. Again, you can find the worksheet at affirmationpod.com/pivot. If you find great benefit from this podcast and you think others might as well, I'd love it if you left a rating or a review in iTunes for the podcast. It'll help people discover it and give iTunes a signal that, hey, this podcast is a quality podcast. It's making a difference in people's lives. This is Josie with Affirmation Pod, your home for personal development. Thank you so much for clicking play and tuning in today. Bye for now.